What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over the best catfish rig for muddy bottom fishing. Now in this video I'm going to be showing you how to tie it up, how to string it up, all that good stuff. So maybe you'll learn a thing or two. If not, if you already know this rig and you're familiar with it, please leave it down in the comments. Anything you'd like to add, I'm always willing to learn something. So y'all stay tuned to today's video. Alright guys, now that we're down here on the table, a few things you're going to need for this rig. One, you're going to need a hook, preferably a circle hook. This is an alot circle hook, kind of big for size comparison. I was going to go with this big 12-aught, but it's kind of overkill, so I don't even know why I have this. Anyway, we're going to go with this 8-aught Gamakatsu circle hook. Then you're going to need a sinker. I just have a little pyramid 1-ounce lead sinker here for size comparison. And instead of using thin fishing line, hard to see, we're going to go with a little yellow construction string. Nothing fancy, just some stuff you pick up at Walmart. But just for the sake of the video, I'll show y'all how to tie this. Okay guys, now the whole purpose of the muddy bottom catfishing rig, if you've watched my last video, it's almost just like this setup but backwards. So if you do it the other way, when your bait is just laying on the floor, if it's a real muddy bottom, your bait will kind of sink into the mud, or if there's current, debris could blow on top of it. So this rig is especially good for muddy bottoms or even grassy bottoms. You got some grass on the bottom, you kind of need to get your bait up a little bit out of the vegetation. So with this rig, it kind of gets your bait off the floor a little bit, kind of right eye level with the fish, so it's like right in the strike zone at all times. Instead of having to jig it up off the floor or anything like that, this rig keeps it at your desired depth, whether it's 1 foot, 6 inches, 2 inches, wherever you kind of want to put your hook on the line. So let's get started tying it. Now that you have all your materials, what you're first going to go off with is you're going to start with the weight at the bottom. So you're going to thread your fishing line, your main fishing line, whether it's braid or fluorocarbon leader, whatever you're using. You're going to thread it through your weight, and what I do is I tie 2 overhand knots. And 2 overhand knots is a good knot, but it's not a strong knot. So well, the reason I do that is because the weight is going to be on the bottom, and that is what's going to be dragging across the floor. As you're working the bait into you, you're reeling it in, your weight is going to be dragging. So this is likely the thing that you're going to get caught up with. So it could catch on a rock, a log, you know, anything like that. And if your weight is what catches and you're pulling on it, and you have like a Palomar knot or a really good knot tied here, when you're pulling on it, it's not gonna give. So you might wind up snapping your line and you lose your weight, your hook, you wind up losing your whole rig, which is a big pain in the butt. So if you just tie 2 overhand knots at the bottom, it works wonders. That way if you do get snagged up and you start tugging on it and tugging on it, this knot will give first. You lose your weight, but lead is cheap, and you get to keep your expensive hooks and your bait back to you, and you get to tie on another weight and call it a good day. So that's the reason I tie a double-handed knot on the bottom of the weight. Now that you have your weight tied on, it is time for the hook, the most important part. So for this rig, the whole purpose is to get the hook off the bottom. So a lot of people will want it like 6 inches to a foot off the bottom from their weight, which is a good height. But if you're a bank fisherman like myself, when you cast the line out, instead of the line being straight up and down like this, if you're on the bank, your line is going to be tilted off to the side like so. So even though you tied it 6 inches vertically, when you cast it out from the bank, your line is going to be angled, so your hook's over here. So instead of being 6 inches up, it's actually 3 inches or 2 inches. So it's good to always go, if you're fishing from the bank, a little bit more than what you think. That way when when the line is angled off to the side, you at least get it off the bottom. Because if you did tie it only a couple inches off the weight, by the time you cast it from the bank, your bait's still going to be on the bottom of the floor. So it's always good to go just a little bit more than what you were intending. Now, when it comes to the hook, what I do is go your desired length you want, about 6 inches, go a little more. What I do is I grab the line and I fold it into a loop. And what I do then is after I fold it into a loop, I just act like I'm going to tie my shoe, just an overhand knot. Nothing fancy, just an overhand knot. But instead of only doing it once, you're going to go through the hole basically twice. So instead of just having a regular square knot, a little overhand knot, you're going to go through it twice and cinch it down. Make sure you pull your ends and make sure everything's tight. So what you did there is you have your weight down here now, and then about 6 inches up you have this big loop hanging off the line. And a lot of people will tie their hook directly to their line, which is good, but this is the way I like to do it. And if you want to swap hooks to a smaller hook or a bigger hook, this is a really great rig to do that. With that loop you have now, you want to double it and run it through the eye of your hook. Just pass it through. And you're going to want to run it over the loop of the entire hook. So now that you've done that, you just pull the slack out and it cinches down on the eye of the hook, just like that. Nothing fancy, it just passes through. So now your hook is there and it's attached to your weight. So now when you have your weight at the bottom, your bait is hanging up off the floor. Now granted, this is just small size to kind of show you in frame, but when you do it with real line on your rig a little higher up, it works really well. And a lot of people call this a dropper loop system, a drop shot. There's all kinds of names for it, but this rig gets your bait off the bottom, out of the weeds, out of the mud, out of the muck, the crap, the trash on the bottom. It gets your bait off the bottom to where the fish can see it at its eye level. It stays in the strike zone. So there's a lot of plus benefits to using this rig over like the Carolina style rig to rig your bait. So that, my friends, is the best catfish rig for muddy bottom fishing. What's up, guys? Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I know it was short and sweet, right to the point, but if you have not tried this rig, I highly recommend it. I mean, it holds your bait right there in the strike zone, right in front of the fish's face, and they can't resist it. So if you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. Leave a comment if this rig has worked well for you, your experience with the rig. I'm dying to know. So if y'all would, hit the like, subscribe button. We're almost to 500 subscribers. It's freaking awesome. It's all thanks to you guys. So until then, we will see y'all in the next video.